Yes, good morning. The meeting of the Texas State Technical College Board of Regents is called to order this Thursday, May 9th, 2024 at 11:12. Jonathan, would you please lead us in the invocation?
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, everlasting Creator, you have called us to use our gifts as faithful stewards of your grace, serving one another humbly in love, being devoted to one another, and honoring each other above ourselves. Today we celebrate and give thanks for our teammates, especially those who serve across the state, by preparing our campuses and spaces where our students reside while entrusted to us. We're reminded that you too care for our needs and are preparing a place for us. Thank you for this special campus and this community and its role in fostering prosperity in this part of Texas. God, please bless our work as we prepare our students to excel in their fields and respond to their own calls to serve. We ask for your blessing on the discussions today. Grant us wisdom and discernment as we reflect on our work, and plan for our future. Finally, as we leave this place later today, we ask for safe travels. Lord, we ask this all for your glory, in honor of your purposes, and according to your will. Amen.
Thank you, Jonathan. We'll now determine a quorum. I'll call your name and request that you indicate your presence. Ron Witter.
Present.
Curtis Cleveland.
Present.
Keith Honey.
Present.
Rob Nizzo.
Present.
Lizzie Punit.
Present.
Ron Rohrabacher.
Present.
Eric Beckman.
Present.
Dr. Kathy Stewart.
Present.
Tiffany Tremont, present. We have a quorum. Very quickly, I'd just like to say, Chancellor, thank you and your staff for planning this trip to Marshall. I'd also like to thank Provost Day for his hospitality. The Marshall campus is beautiful, and the Board of Regents is very impressed with your campus, facilities, staff, and especially the interactive demonstrations and tours that you led us through. So thank you very much. All right, you have an agenda before you. Are there any amendments to the agenda? I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
Then, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we'll consider the minutes from the February 2024 board meetings. You have those meeting minutes in front of you. Are there any corrections to the minutes? I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. We've reached the public comment section of our meeting. Procedures for public comments at TSTC board meetings are governed by the Texas statute and the bylaws of the Board of Regents of the Texas State Technical College. These laws allow for comments from the public on any item contained on the publicly posted agenda before the item is considered by the governing body. This will be the only time during the meeting set aside for public comment. Section 551.042 of the Texas Open Meetings Act restricts the TSTC Board of Regents dialogue in response to public comments. Are there any comments?
Madam Chair, I believe there are. Rush, if you'd like to come up here.
Thank you very much. My name is Rush Harris. I'm the Executive Director of Marshall Economic Development Corporation. We're a Type A EDC here in Marshall, Texas. I want to welcome you on behalf of our Marshall EDC, the City of Marshall, Harrison County, and our East Texas region. We're so thankful that you're here. This comment is in general about Provost Day and his team, as well as your activities here in Marshall from the standpoint of someone who has boots on the ground and is actively engaged in our community. I can't say enough how much TSTC does for this community. What a gigantic asset it is. I have a little context, I promise I won't be long. A little context, I'm from Marshall, Texas, and I have the pleasure of serving as the executive director of my own town after having left, after high school. In the early 90s, they were actually still building, and I think on the campus here, the EDC, I think, had a lot of activity with that in that regard. But at 18, I was gone, right? I was out of here. I was on my way to a more costly, lower paying job experience. And worked several nonlinear jobs until finally having a child. And I decided to move back here early 2011. Found the opportunity with economic development and soon learned that TSTC was not a truck driving school, as it had been referred to me when I was in high school. I had the pleasure of meeting Provost Day. He took me on a tour, and I became very, very aware that it was not the school I thought it was. And on subsequent tours, I had the desire to actually attend some classes. I'm going to get there someday. One day I'm going to have time to do it. But I want to say, as in economic development, that there's so much that involves community collaboration and discussion. And I can't say enough about BART's participation in community events. We have meetings with our ISD superintendent, the mayor, the city manager, the county judge, me, the ISD superintendent, our other college presidents. And BART is there, and BART is offering solutions to city problems. He's listening to county problems. We're all working together. And I'm happy to say we're about 8 years into a culture of collaborative change for this community that did not exist here 20 years ago. This is a different environment, and then you come in 3 or 4 more years, I don't know how often you're going to come by, you're going to see differences. And we couldn't do what we do without you. We couldn't do what we do without chancellors, vice chancellors, the staff here, Bart, his staff, the teachers. They treat their kids like family. You're changing lives. You are changing trajectories of these kids. I mean, if you can, I wish I could just take you on some of these site visits or bring you in to talk to some of these kids that coming from abject poverty, finding accessible education and making a change. They've been in generational poverty sometimes for 4 or 5 generations. I mean, we're a community that started in 1841. There's a lot of history, but a lot of baggage that comes with that. So what we are doing here, what you are doing here, is tremendously important. It's so important we put workforce as 1/3 of our budget at the EDC, which is a lot different than going out and trying to recruit projects. The best marketing plan I have is the best workforce plan, right? The better that is, the more people that will come to us. And Bart has gone the extra step. Doesn't just work with the EDC, he works with the city, and he works with the county. That government piece is super, super critical when they start thinking about funding and how they're going to look at their future. But right now, we're a community that's focused on, or an EDC that's in a city that's focused on infrastructure. EDC is focused on education. Education is so critical to us, and we value that partnership. We value what you're doing. Thank you for being here. My door is always open. I want you to come. If you have questions about Marshall, what people are experiencing, what the government's like, come to me. You need anything in East Texas, come to me. I'll help you out. But I want to say special thanks to Chancellor Reeser, who participated in our Marshall Economic Summit. We did our 2nd annual. You can actually see some footage on marshallsummit.com. Yes, we did film it. And we got better at marketing too.
Oh, very cool.
Marshallsummit.com. That's Marshall too. Summit 1T. But the message that he brought it in front of all city council members, all county commissioners, all ISD board of trustees, all EDC board of directors, all chamber members, and then community and education leaders from across our region. And he delivered one of the best messages I've heard on TSTC. And I thank him for that, for coming, for participating in what's, small town. But we're really making changes. If you guys see opportunities to do beta test some stuff, come to me. I'd love to try. We're a community that wants change. We're a community that wants those differences. So I thank you. It's extremely meaningful. Thank you.
Thank you, Rush. Wow. You promised me it was about bark.
Are there any other public comments? The public comment period is concluded. Chancellor, do you have any comments?
I do. I have some comments. In fact, I've got a very quick PowerPoint, and I don't have the remote. Hey, guys. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay. It's not advancing. There we go. Okay. So, quick update. You have to push the button slowly. Here are the 4 topics that I'm going to cover in my comments, and the first is growth. Most of my time will be spent here. I'm going to keep saying it until you tell me to stop. At TSTC, when we talk about growth, what we're talking about is the number of students we put to work and the earnings that they earn. That's what we aspire to grow, our impact on the state economy. Everything else we do is a lead indicator to those final outcomes. So with you, we monitor these lead indicators because of their strong correlation to the final results we seek to achieve. So student earnings and revenues are it. We also, revenues, market share, and donations are 3 areas that at a strategic level we'll touch on with you on an ongoing basis. As of Tuesday of this week, these are the daily, here's some printouts of the daily reports that your management team gets out of our system. Our DNA, which is digital and analytics group, no, data and analytics group, has significantly increased in sophistication. So this shaded area is the stretch budget that we had this year for tuition. And you can see that was a big stretch. We aspired to increase our tuition from about 52 million to 60 million. And as you can see, we are on target. In fact, we're up about $700,000. It ain't over yet. It'll be another few weeks as this number settles down, but you can see through the course of the summer, then tuition is done for the year, but it looks like we hit our stretch goal. That's pretty good when you consider that these are the 2 years before it. And the years before that are down here. So, nice job, team. Here it is by location. And what you can see is everybody's up. Look at these double-digit increases at these locations. This is driven by both headcount increase and students are taking bigger loads. And so the tuition is going. This is not a price increase.
There, compared to prior year, there was
Okay.
a 5%.
5% of price
Just this
increase.
current
Okay.
year.
So take 5% out of this and it's still extraordinary numbers. Okay.
Hey, Mike. Central administration, what is that again? Central administration?
You know, that used to be U-Check. What,
That's, I think we run some of the online students through there.
yeah.
Because I don't see, we're not seeing,
No, Williamson County's right here.
right, but we're not seeing TSTC Connect, which
Yeah.
is our online campus. And so the way this, we have to report to the state, we report the online campus through our system office technically. So that's what that is.
And that's not the external corporate stuff.
No, that's
Yep.
4 credit
Got
online
it.
training.
Thank you.
So here is enrollment growth. And again, the shaded area is our goal, okay? These 2 lines are previous years, and then the dark blue line is current year. What you'll see is we had a later start than before. A big part of this, we are retooling the front of the house, But another big part of it was the FAFSA issue and the fact that the FAFSA data wasn't available. And most higher ed in America had a late start this year. So we have, but what you can see is we've accelerated higher, and here we are ending up right here. This is as of Thursday. We have a faster update. And so it looks like we're gonna fall just short of our stretch goal. It is likely because this will, like in previous years, level off about here and then head over. So we're slightly behind our stretch goal, but we're significantly ahead of the last 2 years, which of course is key. And I'll put some context on that. This is out of the comptroller's office, and this is text in the higher ed section of their statewide economic report that came out this spring. And what you can see is community colleges have dropped over the past 3 years, and TSTC is up markedly. We are the exception in the 2-year sector. We are beating the market. And I'm not sure 52%, I'm not sure that number is quite right. There might be an anomaly in there or something. But the conclusion is spot on correct. We are beating the market. We are a stark difference from the rest of the sector. And let me show you the numbers. Now, way back there, these are going to be hard to see. But here's what I will show you. Here's the universities from 19 to 23, they are up 3% through the pandemic. Community colleges are down 8%. And we're up 52. Now, I think we're up a little less than that. But
Wow.
a -8 to a +40, and I'd say we're beating the market by a major amount.
Wow.
So much so that the comptroller called us out by name. And if you look at the rest of the sector, what you'll see is it is only the independents down here in professional schools that have any kind of significant growth. This is law school, med school, stuff like that. But through the worst period in higher ed, your institution was beating the market. And so that's pretty darn cool. If you want this whole report, send me an email and I'll send you the link. It's 50 pages and we are one of the 50 pages, but it's got some interesting data on it. Okay, next is facilities. You're going to hear a theme throughout this whole thing. You'll have action items and other report outs about facilities. The vice chancellors have promised me they'll be very concise. We know we have some travel schedules that we're trying to meet. Another theme that you'll hear this time is accreditation. You'll hear some information about that. Also compliance and compliance. We have a few matters for you to consider this time that have to do with meeting the requirements of being a state agency. And so generally speaking, those are the themes of today's meeting. The action items you'll have will be relatively brief in number, but we're taking that opportunity to give you some updates on the various functions that resulted due to our management restructure a couple years ago. And so you'll get to hear from voices you don't get to always hear every single day. And so that's today's meeting. That's got to be a record for me.
I think so.
Well, thank you, Chancellor. We will now begin the committee section of the agenda. First up is the Committee for Student Learning and Student Development. I now call on Lizzie de la Garza Cunit.
Oh, actually, how about me?
Okay, how about Dr. Kathy Stewart?
All right, thank you. The committee did have an online meeting. We met virtually on this past Monday, May the 6th. And we actually had the pleasure of having Provost Day on the call with us, which was very wonderful. He added a lot to the conversation. And we had a very robust discussion about everything that's going on within this, within student learning. We talked about our operations division plans for this coming year. We had a little workday implementation update. And just a lot of discussion about emerging projects, things that are ongoing, and things that are coming up. And instead of me trying to just tell you all about that, I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan.
There's so much going on, and I'd love to go deep, but I think y'all do have plans to travel away from here soon. So I'm just going to focus in on our action item, and I'll be happy to take any questions following. We have 1 minute order for consideration, and it's something that you see from time to time. It's a bit out of sequence with our regular tuition and fee schedules that you see, and this relates to air pilot training. You might remember we have been investing in our fleet of aircraft. And so this really relates to that. We have a new type of aircraft that we've invested in. And so this establishes a new rate for that new line of aircraft. And this will kind of get us in equilibrium in terms of the cost and revenue cycle for flight training. And so it's listed on, there's a schedule that actually the students kind of look up, and that's how they determine how they the cost of their instruction. So the new aircraft is a Piper Pilot 100i. And so this is the cost to use the aircraft, and the fuel charges are added on separate to that. We did also include the sunset of a particular fee that became obsolete. And so we want to tidy up our schedule, and so that does that. So we ask for your approval of this revised cost of air pilot training schedule for the fall of 24.
Is there any questions or discussion? Okay, Madam Chair, that ends our report.
All right, thank you, Kathy. I now call on Ron Witter, Chair of the Fiscal Affairs Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, the Fiscal Affairs Committee, we met on May 1st. And while we don't have any minute orders for the board to approve, we do have 6 reports that we'd like to go over. And for that, I'll pass it off to Chad Wooten.
Thank you, Ron. So we have, all of these reports are standard reports. So they should look pretty familiar, and we'll get through them quickly. The first is on page 5 is the quarterly investment report. This is the report of our cash holdings. And at our last meeting, we reported as of November 30th, we had seen a pretty good dip in cash as we invested into the fall semester. And you can see here in the operating funds, we've had an increase of $8 million. So we're bouncing back as we expected with the tuition and all that coming in. The other item of note there toward the bottom, you will see we're beginning to spend down the CCAP bond proceeds. But we're also still earning interest on those as well. So you'll see the movement there. As the construction projects pick up, those numbers will change even more in the future. And the second page, you can see for all of our investments, our weighted average rate of interest is 4.9. And to date, as of February 29th, which is 6 months of the fiscal year, we have earned $8.7 million in interest, most of which will be used for capital projects. And then finally, on the last page of that, page 7, we added this last meeting so you can see over time where our reserves have gone. The story again was in 2023, we invested a lot into the growth in a ramp-up phase. It dipped back down last quarter, but we're back up to about 28 million year to date, and we expect it to level off around 30 million by the end of this fiscal year, just in time to plow it into FY25. So, any questions on the investments? On page 8, you'll see the pledged collateral report. We did not have any collateral busts, so that one's in good shape. Page 9, this is a annual report that we produce alongside a report we're required to send to the Texas Bond Review Board that goes over our debt. So on page 10, you'll see our total debt service per year for fiscal year '24 is $35.5 million. The vast majority of that, as you can see in the blue there, is covered by the state. And we expect that number to hold pretty steady the next few years until we get into a new issuance. So page 11 covers the outstanding principal. You can see there at the bottom, we have come off the peak of our debt, and so we're now starting to pay it down. We're just at $390 million as of February 29th. And then finally on page 12, we did report at the last meeting, we had just gotten the rating analysis from Moody's 2 days before that meeting, but no changes here in our bond ratings. Our issuances, the RFS issuances are, they were upgraded to stable from negative by Moody's 3 months ago. Next report is budget performance on page 13. For fiscal year '24, especially as the Chancellor mentioned, our tuition came in. We're actually expecting a little more than 60 million. So we're forecasting a break even for the fiscal year. You'll see 3 million at the bottom, but that does include 3 million of reserves we tentatively budgeted. So it's looking like we're going to come in right at a break even point, may be able to add a little to reserves that will then be available for 25. And the notes page on that really gives a lot of explanation. But are there any questions I can answer about the budget? All right. The fifth report is the quarterly lease report for those small short-term leases. You'll see we had one lease in the quarter that will end later this month. And then finally, our now 2-page report that covers contracts over $1 million. You'll see there on page 16, the ones in blue, we've locked in a lot of the major contracts for the CCAP construction now. So in this quarter, we locked in Waco, Fort Bend, and Marshall, and the 2 remaining you'll see on next meeting's report, Harlingen and Abilene will be locked in there. So those are good to get those numbers nailed down, and then we can budget our additional interest income and things like that. On the second page, you'll see a couple of new ones. One to note is this report, I believe, is supposed to be just for expense contracts, but we had a revenue contract come in over $1 million. And so whether it's required or not, we threw it in here for good measure. But Claudia's team received a contract with the Texas Department of Transportation for us to train commercial driver's license instruction to their folks. And then as we do a section to this report, at the bottom you can see the aggregate spend for those vendors that have multiple contracts. Any questions? All right, well, we are, just a quick planning update. We are right in the middle of budget season for fiscal year '25. I can see that being a tight year. It's timing more than anything, but as we're growing, the expenses come before the revenue comes. And so the management team has 2 big meetings scheduled in the next couple of months to work on the '25 budget. And we'll get that all together and see you in August. Thank you.
Anybody got any questions for Chad? Nope. Yep, so yeah, you know, when we had the call on the first, we do a deeper dive on the data and all that, and I just have to say, Chad and his whole team, any questions that I ask or any, boy, they know the answer, they got the data, it's very clear and concise. So you guys do a great job on that. We're dealing with bigger numbers now, and man, you just know the answers. And so again, thanks to you and your whole team for that.
Thanks very much. Yeah, my team we immerse ourselves in it because we have to. It is so much information, but you get to know it. It's like your second family, you know, all these numbers. So
Rick's doing it, and you're giving him the money. So
Yeah.
it's a lot.
Exactly.
So, yeah, great
Thank you.
job. Thank you. That's it.
All right, well, thank you, Ron. I'll now call on Keith Honey, Chair of the Facilities Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, speaking of spending money, the two big guys are coming up now. So we met virtually yesterday morning and had a great meeting, a thorough review of the CCAP projects and the real estate activities. Rick reviewed all the major projects and the timelines with the committee. And so we have 1 minute order today and 3 reports, and Kevin is going to go for first. I do want to mention that he is going to talk in detail about campus services today. And I think kind of one of the themes, as Mike mentioned, of this meeting is to highlight facilities and campus services. And so these guys do a great job for us. This particular campus, Bart, just seeing it, this meeting looks great, and thank you all for the great job you continue to do. One other thing I want to note is that Kevin is going to be given a more detailed report on deferred maintenance, which has been a concern of all of ours and the administrations as well, next time in the August meeting. But I will say that we did review that in committee. And I think you're going to be really pleased with what you see in August on deferred maintenance and how we're attacking that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kevin to give his minute order and reports.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So we have 1 minute order for this board meeting. This is for landscaping services at our Waco campus. So one thing we really try to pride ourselves on is the quality of the services that we receive. And so Terry Pritchard and his team identified that, and we put the services out to bid again. So Regent Honey, this minute order, and I'll read it in its entirety, is to allow us to proceed with that. So the Texas State Technical College Board of Regents approved contracts for landscaping services at TSTC in Waco, where the contract exceeds $1 million and delegates this authority to the chancellor or his designee to enter into and execute any and all necessary amendments, extensions, renewals, including those with a value that exceeds 25% of the value of the original agreement. So that's our minute order. We really feel good about the steps we've taken. When we moved forward 2 years ago, the costs were extremely high. There was, after COVID, there was a lot of issues with labor as well as gas costs. So we firmly believe this new agreement, once completed, we should hopefully see some savings related to that and more quality for landscaping services. So that's our minute order. Any questions? All right. So I do have a short video, and IT will run that. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. So I'll stand and move out the way so they can run it. Adam, if you would. team to stand one more time. Hopefully they enjoyed the announcements last night. I think you guys saw some of the numbers. I know it moved pretty fast, so I'm sure Chelsea could share the video with you guys. But it's been an awesome year. A lot of opportunity, a lot of positive movement in the right direction, and we just see so much more coming for us in the future. So we definitely appreciate you guys' support, the opportunity to be able to share that video, and just so you know, our passion to make sure that we're serving our students, our staff, and all our visitors that come on our campuses. So that is a part of campus services. So thank you guys for the time.
Great job, Kevin. Thank
Any
you.
questions,
Great job,
thoughts?
people.
One question, so Kevin, you
Yes, sir.
said first annual safety fair, what was that?
So Guillermo de Leon, so just a little story, right? Probably about 2.5, 3 years ago, we would have an annual safety summit. And our safety summit brought in a lot of our leaders from around the state that would come into one location, and it was good, right? But really felt compelled that we weren't reaching the right audience, our instructors, our students. So kind of asked Guillermo, hey, let's move away from the summit. Let's try a safety fair. So Guillermo, the team really put together in Harlingen, the safety fair. A lot of people came out, a lot of vendors, a lot of hands-on interaction for the students. We had a lot of instructions. If you saw that, our, let me see, I think I have it here. We trained, let's see.
420.
Thank you, Guillermo. That's why you're here. 420 folks. And so one thing you'll see around our campus is AEDs, first aid kits, did a lot of training related to that, right? So we're not only preparing them mentally, but actually physically ready so we can respond to situations or issues in regards to safety. So moving in the right direction there as well.
Great proactive
Yes,
step there.
And so we're looking forward, I know Guillermo was next year, to a bigger fair in Waco. You saw 520, we expect hopefully over 1,000.
Nice.
Just because of the amount of people. So,
Thanks.
all right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, Rick, if you'll come forward and give your update reports.
Press it slow, Chancellor. There we go. So you've seen these slides before. My intent today is just to cover the total square footage, the total cost, and the programs that are going to be at these locations. You'll see the ending date on all of these, and most of these will be completed the following year. We'll have one or two that continue on in 26. For the sake of time, those are the three main topics I'm going to cover, but I'll gladly spend as much time as you like. After that, I'll ask my team to stand up again just for recognition. And after that, we should get a short video. They'll give you an aerial view of the existing sites, just so you can get an idea of where we are in progress. So this is our Abilene project. It's a 52,000 square feet project with a total cost of $26 million. We're focusing on diesel technology, electrical and water, HVAC, and plumbing. We started off a little slow in Abilene, if you recall. We made some design changes that we felt was critical, and it's going to make a building be a lot more, create a better impression for our college. One of the things, for me, that was a more of a quality item than anything else, just to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our students beyond just the lab environment, giving them places they're going to be proud to walk into as well. Fort Bend is progressing very well as well. It's over 110,000 square feet, $54 million project. We're focusing on a more of a transportation center of excellence with diesel technology, automotive technology, automotive collision repair technology. If you notice on the, figure out the laser. There we go. If you notice, this is the Tesla building that exists today, and by the time the project is finished, it'll be incorporated into the building design itself. The Harlingen project is actually 3 different projects. This one here is the actual new building. It's also a transportation center focusing on automotive technology and diesel. 84,000 square feet, $41 million project for this portion of the project. In Harlingen, the contractors begun to mobilize. They're bringing in their trailers, setting the fencing, and we'll be breaking ground here in the next week or 2 in Harlingen. Actually, start moving some dirt. This is Harlingen Line Worker project. It's a 7,000 square foot project, $5 million in actual cost, and it's solely for electrical line worker. The history on it is we actually shut down our, what was the name of the program? The official name? Our ag program, I'm sorry. And we took over the ag area and put line worker. But the environment that was there was more about ag versus line worker, right? So the facilities were definitely not adequate for teaching and learning. So when we created the project, we actually adjusted our scope a bit to be able to create a dedicated facility at the request of the then provost for Harlingen. So this is going to be a huge success, and it's modeled after the Fort Bend line worker building, but it's definitely going to be something to be really proud about. I'd like to again point out some of the features here. The way the architects are working around the state, they're looking for a cost-effective way of giving buildings some pop. The majority of it is lighting. And this one here, this is a vinyl type material that'll give it the ability to be well lit and nice. It's a small building, but man, it's going to make a huge impression. This is the current engineering building. The actual total square foot of this facility is 80,000 square feet, and we're going to remodel 30,000 square feet of that building. The remodel cost of it is $11 million. We're focusing on existing programs that are there, which is they're increasing their capacity. That's wind energy and biomedical, and we'll be introducing plumbing as a new program in that facility. This is getting a huge makeover. This is going to be new awning added to the existing facility. Have some transparent type panels here to diffuse some of the light, but also to give it a better aesthetic quality. So I really believe that building will be transformed in appearance by the time we're done with it. Marshall, we did visit the Marshall site earlier. We were hoping to have concrete poured by the time you were here, but we've been experiencing some pretty significant rain delays. And we're ironing out some issues along the way as well with the contractor, trying to get them a little bit more cooperative in some areas. But we're dealing with a 20,000 square foot facility, $13 million project, and it's solely focused on diesel technology. But we have had some rain delays. Our project manager, Agent Del Rio, and our Vice President, Jay Wesson, are doing all they can with the contractor to see they can bring it and keep it within the current scheduled completion date. Waco EEC TSC, this is an actual remodel that was partly funded by a federal economic development grant. Well, federal money is great, but then you get federal overhead, which is a lot of paperwork. God bless Mike Radcliffe for having to deal with all that, but doing a phenomenal job. 72,000 square feet of remodel space, $12 million project, electrical power control, and I'll need some help on this one, Jonathan. INT and BET acronyms?
Instrumentation and biomedical.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you. A lot of acronyms. Waco JVC, I'm really looking forward to our August board meeting for y'all to be able to walk in and see the transformation of that facility. The vision of Deputy Chancellor Lawrence and Vice Chancellor Bettersworth is really showed through. It really, for me, it exceeded my expectations because it's going to be a beautiful looking facility. 75,000 total square feet, $15 million. And again, it's a visitor center, because we're bringing everybody in there beyond students. So it's not just welcome, it's being a visitor center. Again, I'm really looking forward to the August meeting so you can see the transformation. CCAP Waco, we dug a pretty big hole out there, Region Cleveland. Thank you for observing that. But you know, every surface is different around the state, right? In Abilene, we're dealing with concrete, probably a couple of feet below the dirt. And here in Marshall, we're dealing with sandy soil that every time it rains, it washes out. And we also ran into an asbestos pipe underneath the building that no one knew it belonged to, so now it belongs to us, right? So we had to deal with that cleanup too. That was part of the delay. So when you dig, you never know what you're gonna find, but that's just part of the process. 127,000 square feet, $72 million project, working on building construction, electrical construction, solar, plumbing, and HVAC. This building, you don't see it on this view, but the view that faces the highway is a 7,000, correct me, Michael, what's the height of the building in the back? 65 feet. 65 feet of the building?
Tall, yeah,
Yeah.
65 feet tall.
So for comparison, the billboards in front of it are 45 feet. So that's gonna tower over the billboards that are out there. And again, that met the expectation of Vice Chancellor. So anyway, that's a beautiful looking facility. We're really looking forward for its completion. And this is the Waco Ward site. This is the one that was a cooperation with the city and the county where they came together and donated $17 million. Really grateful to the city of Waco and the county of McLennan for doing so. 30,000 square feet, $17 million project. I'll point out, because I was talking to, in our facilities committee, the way the contractor went about pouring that concrete, he did it in such a way that, because it's gonna be polished concrete, that it would look very uniform in appearance. The way it's traditionally done, it's done in segments. So then you start seeing the difference in coloration of the concrete, right? Well, we ran into an issue. We had a situation where when they etched the lines in the concrete, one of them looked like an S shape. And then they fixed it by making a straight line, so then it looked like a dollar sign. Right? Well, it's kind of cool, but that's not what it's supposed to be, right? But again, one of the things that the project managers do for the college, besides just keeping the projects on task, but on cost as well as on time, is they have an eye for quality, right? Michael walks in the job site, takes a look at that, and says, okay, that ain't gonna work, right? So he worked with the general contractor, and the general contractor recognized the situation. So it actually ended up breaking, was it 9 square feet or 18 square feet? How much concrete you break?
Several hundred square feet.
Several hundred square feet of concrete to fix a dollar sign machine. Right? But again, keeping an eye for quality, what is it that we expect? It was worth doing that for us as well as the contractor to deliver on their quality expectation as well. Waco Real Estate, Roland Gilmore leads that for us in Waco. When it was under Vice Chancellor Hoekstra, there was some purchases made, and then we made a few others, but then it was time to clean it up. So all of that has been raised, it's been seeded. You will be seeing some green grass, hopefully in August when you return. And I know that VC Simeon and his team are working to clean up some of that brush area, just to improve the appearance out there. Oh, went too fast. may, I'd like to ask my team to stand up. As I mentioned at the dinner last night, collectively, they have over 200 years of industry experience in construction. The reason Campus Expansion Division was created, it was created at the request of then Chairman Regent Cleveland and our facilities chair, Regent Honey. The concern was, how are you guys gonna manage over $300 million of construction? There's your answer.
Okay, any questions for Rick or Kevin? Thanks, guys, for a great report, and thanks for all you do. I hope the board sees, and we all have these areas within each of our responsibilities, but what goes on behind the scenes that we really don't think about every day. And these guys do a yeoman's job and such a complete piece of what we're about at TSTC. Thank you all and your team members very much for that. Appreciate you. That concludes our report, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Keith. Now call on Rob Mizzo, Chair of the General Administration Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm excited for this report, actually. There's just a lot of good things happening and a lot of data, I think, that will really be presented even more so in August. But I had the opportunity to meet with the team yesterday after our tour of this beautiful campus. And the one thing that I noticed that I just love about this campus, I love your photography. So I love the black and white photography of the work being done. So, and I'm not sure who the photographer is, but the photographer is very talented, because those are some just great pictures. It really makes you proud walking around and seeing the things that you're a part of and that you're affecting. So I think it's great. So we had the opportunity to talk yesterday, as I mentioned, and started out talking about with Michael reporting that summer 2024 enrollment is ahead of goal, and I think the goal was already 17% above last year's target. So, and right now we're trending somewhere close to 19%, which shows a lot of growth. And as you see the growth of TSTC across statewide, there's also some interesting things I observed in the HR practices and other areas in our hiring. So I also, going through that process, talking about how do we support the growth and how do we support the all the industries that we serve, and bringing in the tools, the CRM tool, which is basically it's been implemented now. It's now being utilized to its full extent. We're getting into AI, chatbot technology. Things that I think is truly a secret weapon for us. I think there are a lot of other institutions that aren't embracing the technology like we are. I think it's very cool, very, very cool. Kind of moving into HR, so meeting with Pamela, we had a really interesting discussion. Actually, I learned a lot. Every time I talk to Pamela, I learn new concepts and ideas and things that I think, hey, that's really, really cool. I think it's things that Pamela has created. Not things that you can go read out of a book in her experience. So, right now we are doing a lot of hiring, but not as much hiring as I would expect. And I think it's a testament to the quality of the personnel that we have on staff. So we're growing by, 52%? I mean, we saw the data. We're growing at a very, very fast pace. We've got a little over almost 1,700 employees. And I think in this fiscal year, the plan is to hire somewhere around 263 new employees. And that's with a potential a regrettable loss. And regrettable loss is something I learned in our meeting, which I love that term, by the way, of about 200 people. So you're really looking at a 30 or 40 person addition to the team in a market where we're growing at a very fast pace. And that's a testament, I think, to the people that work for TSTC. I think that's I think the team that we have, I mean, I just think are exceptional. I think I've mentioned this every time I've spoken. Coming from industry, if I had a team, as good as TSTC, I don't know if I would be sitting here. Who knows where I would be? I mean, honestly, you guys are awesome. So. Also, moving on to IT, so working with Dale, this is, I mean, to me, it's Dale is, what he manages, it's the air that we breathe. IT is everything, unfortunately, and fortunately. But it scares the crap out of me most of the time, just for the record. But I'm very confident, based on talking to Dale, that it's being handled in control. So we've got a lot in the works, new SIS, and you're also taking over Workday. It's being transitioned from Michael into the IT group, and Dale, you're going to be managing that also, which I think is going to be an opportunity, and I think it makes sense. So we've got right now 3 minute orders, and we have 1 report, and I'm going to jump to meeting with Cledia. Actually, I'm going to go to Cledia first, if that's okay. So, and Cledia also has a very interesting report, and I had the opportunity to digest it a little bit last night. And there's a lot of really, really interesting data within that report. And so I'll maybe do the report first, or do we do the minute orders first?
We can do the minute order, get that over and done with, and then we'll go into the presentation.
Let's do the minute order first.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I think at the last board meeting, we had the privilege to be able to celebrate together an amazing donation that speaks to the value that our employer partners see in TSTC. We saw $1 million donation being given, and so the minute order that we have, or we're requesting your approval for, and I'll read as it states. This is the Texas State Technical College Board of Regents approves naming a lab at the work site in Waco in honor of Dave and Valerie Fallas of the Fallas Automation. And as part of our SOSs, when somebody does a significant contribution, we're able to identify opportunities for a facility, depending on the size of the donation or of the contribution, to be able to select a naming right for it. And so that we are requesting your approval for that. Any questions? No? We're good.
Do I move on from there?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
okay,
sir.
cool.
I'm so
I
sorry.
apologize.
Yes.
And I apologize, I'm new to this.
Me too.
Yeah,
So
see,
we're
there you
good.
go.
We're
So
good.
we're-
Yes.
I want to make sure I'm not supposed to gavel or anything. I really want to, but
No gaveling, just, so with that, I will go into the presentation if there are no questions with regards to the minute order. For the last, also at the last board meeting, we had some very interesting dialogue and conversation about how are we able to engage with our industry partners to be able to find out, are they satisfied with the services we provide? And so in front of you, you should be receiving, this is the second year that we put this report together. Our career services team is dedicated to being able to assist not only our students, but our employer partners to be able to have access to the talent that we're preparing and the skilled technicians that we're preparing. And so, but I wanted to take it a little step further than just talking about the placement of our students. I am honored and blessed to serve alongside an amazing team that are solutions-driven minded individuals. They are entrepreneurial in how they approach things and really look at being able to identify how TSTC can truly be an economic development driver for the state of Texas. Our chancellor often speaks to our mission and how it's unique to many other higher ed institutions, where we talk about being an economic driver to being a solutions driver for the workforce problems in the state of Texas and being able to partner with employer partners very strategically. And so for the sake of this presentation, we're going to talk about industry partners as a whole, because they wear several hats with us. TSTC is truly a partner with industry, not only from being able to place students, but also, so they are a hiring partner with us, but also we become a trainer of choice for them. My partner, Vice Chancellor Wood, talked about our over $1 million contract with TechStop, because they're saying we want the best trainer for our employees. So incumbent training is something that we do very strategically in customized manners. Through a philanthropical partnership, we also look at donations. You know, like I mentioned with the minute order that we were getting ready to approve, you know, we are seeing how industry sees the value and want to give back and pay it forward, right, to be able to continue to provide that growth. And then they are also advisors and advocates for us. And so they partner with us in various mechanisms. And one of the ways that we do measure that satisfaction is through an annual employer satisfaction survey. And we're very proud to say that based on that survey, they are rating us at an 89% satisfaction. So we wanted to take it a step further with regards to being able to understand what exactly that 89% meant. You know, we talk about wanting to be best in class, but to be compellingly different. So we went a step further and we sent the survey out to over 7,800 employers, and we got about 468 responses. And you'll see here from all the different locations where we were able to get impact. 134 of them had hired TSTC graduates in the prior year, and about 117 of them had actually hired from other two-year college institutions. And as being as competitive as we like to be, we wanted to say, so, okay, give us more. Tell us more about how we are able to be compellingly different from those in the two-year sector. So this is the second year that we're able to provide this survey. So we're still in the process of being able to build that baseline data that we'll be able to continue to assess, but it's not just something that we check a box with. You know, our team with Dale's team in the data and analytics department, we've really become a data-driven institution. So everything that we listen to, everything that we capture, we break it down, we do deep dives, and then we incorporate it into making sure that the maturity of our processes, the maturity of our services, the maturity of our operations are being responsive. We don't want to just hear about it. We want the good, the bad, and the ugly, but then we actually take action on it. And so between 2023 and 2024, we saw a very slight change, but we're still trying to see that baseline data. Employers that actually had hired from other two-year institutions did rate us at a lot higher than the other two institutions. And so we want to be able to so there were some options for comments that we're starting to dive into, and then be able to break that down into our different departments so we can be able to strategically and intentionally refine some of our processes to make sure that we continue to see that. Because again, our primary focus is to be compellingly different and for us to be able to be best in class. 35% of employers actually rated TSTC being performing better than our graduates, performing better than any other two-year institutions. 48% said they were about the same. So again, we're trying to make sure that we're able to drive that to a different level. When we talk with employers and with industry partners, they don't only focus on the technical skills. So we did try to make sure that we're able to capture the applicability of our students' technical knowledge, but also on the soft skills training, right? So we are able to identify how we differentiate from communication, time management, being able to be troubleshooters, problem solvers, right? And so we're able to assess and get feedback so we can be able to continue to drive that difference and make our students more marketable. So all of the information that was captured in this survey, again, this was a snapshot in time. This is one of the many mechanisms that we utilize to be able to gauge our industry partners' perspective of the services we provide. So we've taken all of the information. We've had working sessions with our team to make sure that as we're maturing our processes, we're able to be responsive. We see a flag somewhere, we start addressing it. We want to make sure that we are being able to be responsive, relevant to what they're asking for, and identifying those areas of opportunities and areas of strengths. How can we continue to do that, right? And so our team has really been functioning under, constantly looking at how can we improve what we do. One of the other areas that we've actually been focusing on being able to improve is our TSTC 1102. For some time, we have been able to, through our quality enhancement plan, we had identified this course to be that one course that will help students to be able to become more marketable, more hireable by providing the soft skills training, and to be able to embed that and contextualize that with their journey of technical education. So we're utilizing that same platform, we're refining it, we're relaunching it, kind of making sure that all of the feedback that we're receiving, we're able to embed it and launch it through that course. So all of those strategies are able to close that skills gap that we're seeing. As I talked about with regards to our engagement with industry is, we have some amazing partners that all they do is hire our students. Others that only train with us, others that are donors. And so what we're really shifting is to be able to be a holistic one-stop shop for our employer partners. How can we engage with them in multiple mechanisms? We're actually building a scorecard that can be able to assess their engagement and interaction with TSTC. And by teams' ROI on how they're being evaluated and accountability is how are we moving the needle? where we have somebody that is engaging with us on multiple touch points, that it's not just that they're showing up to our job fairs. So it's talking about a quality strategic partnership versus just a ceremonial partnership. And so these are some of our top 5 partners that engage with us with over 4 to 5 different manners. In the report that you do have in front of you, we talk about how are they hiring our students. Overall, we have about a 90% placement rate statewide. Our employer attendance to our job fairs have increased by 8%, and student attendance has increased by 30%. Our Waco job fair alone has grown to the point that we don't have enough facility space to house all of the employer partners that are attending. So we're expanding to having to do multiple days in order to be able to get all of the employer partners that want to show up, that are asking to be able to show up, because they're seeing the quality that they're being able to hire when they attend our job fairs. We have over 42 active training contracts such as TechStop that are a couple $1 million. Working with Tesla, we are their training provider for several of our campuses. And so being able to bombard some very high profile, very customized, leading edge technical training, and they are choosing TSTC to be their trainer of choice for incumbent workers and to be able to upskill their current workforce. Philanthropically, they've been able to donate. Our cash goal for the TSTC Foundation was 3.4 for the fiscal year that ends August 31st, 2024. We've already surpassed that. We're at 4.1. It's another way of them showing us that they believe in what we're doing. Our advisory committees have just gone through a complete revamp. My partner, Jonathan Hoekstra, and his team has really collaborated with us to how can we be able to make sure that this is not just a check the box meeting. So our industry partners are here to advise, assist, and advocate. They advise on the curriculum. They assist in being able to be engaged through our Skills USA to be able to provide internships, and then they advocate. They go and they speak at the Capitol. They're able to advocate for us in the community to make sure that we're getting the word out. And so this really summarizes a lot of the many touch points that we have in the industry. It's not just a one-time survey, it's really just that ongoing relationship that we have. And we have an amazing team being able to just move those relationships and nourish those relationships with those industry partners, because they're our primary stakeholder that we want to make sure that we're responsive and that we're being relevant to the needs that they have. And really positioning TSTC as an economic driver for the state of Texas by providing workforce development solutions. And so I will open that to any questions. I know we're pressed for time, but.
TSTC 1102, what is that?
So it's similar to, like, in some higher ed institutions, they might have like a freshman seminar course. We don't necessarily do it as an entry level. It's really preparing them with the soft skills that they need to be able to go into the job market. So we talk about time management, being able to be effective in communication, team building, and so on and so forth. So it's a course that we provide our students to be able to strengthen those areas.
Does safety fall under 1102? Or does it probably falls under
everything that we do.
Perfect.
Safety is a primary foundational training that we provide throughout all of our programs.
Excellent.
I just have a comment. I just think it's excellent that you all are doing this, because it's one thing for us to brag about ourselves and our wonderful students, but it's another thing for our end user, the employer, to brag about our students and how great TSTC is. So I'm glad that you guys are capturing it, and I'm impressed with the response. Because 400 some, it's still a lot. When you're surveying. I do have one question. Did you find that, do they write comments, or they just?
They do.
Okay.
Yes. And so we've taken all of those comments and then being able to put action plans to make sure for those that we know that are areas of improvement, we definitely do that. If we're able to identify trends, then we are able to make sure that we do those changes.
You can have follow-up conversations to
Correct.
further. That's great. Well, great job.
Thank you.
I have a comment. I am just so happy to see this, Claudia. It's been a long time that the board's been hoping to see this kind of interaction with our employers, and the surveys and the results and the continuing dialogue with them, because I think we all feel it's such an important piece of how we're going to continue to move forward. It's just a critical part of it. I'm just really happy to see this happening. Thank you.
Well, I know you both have, championed this, and our team has really been focusing on how can we advance industry relations and be able to bring that strength that we need as we lead the way.
Very good, thank you.
If there's no further questions, thank you.
Thank you very much. So the one thing I want to add to that, the mention of safety. So I think as a look at 89% approval of our customers basically is incredible. I think having a safety focus, I think that's a big part of that. So I can say in industry, having somebody come into your facility and start working for your company, whatever the trade is, having them have a safety orientation and culture, it makes all the world of difference. I mean, it's very important. So I think that's a big part of that 89%. So I think that's excellent. So we have got, have Ed come up. He's got two motion orders to present, and they're both related to state compliance.
That's right. I expect a standing ovation as well when I. I'd love to tell you they saved the best for last, but I think they did.
Yes. Well, I wanted to save you to.
That's right. That's right. So what I have are 2-minute orders that have to do with mandates that have been imposed on us. If you watch the news, you would see you're going to be able to see where these are coming from. So the first one is the GA 4-26C. Has to do with an executive order that was issued by the governor requiring us to review, first of all, review and update our speech policies, specifically addressing anti-Semitism, and then review whether we enforce those things, and then to include the definition of anti-Semitism. This was done in response to things you see in the news, specifically those things happening after October the 7th of last year, and then kind of coming to a boiling point on campuses around the country. I don't know that I need to go into detail, and so I would let y'all know that we have done all of those things. We have reviewed our policies. Obviously, not obvious, well, just so you'll know, we have not had any protests that I'm aware of on any of our campuses that have, there's nothing wrong with protest, obviously. We have the right to free speech that have violated the law. So there's nothing like that going on TSC campuses. And we've updated, I think, ES 323 to include the definition of anti-Semitism. And so we've done the things that are necessary. And at some point in time, I'll be reaching out to the chair, and she will then be having a report that I'll put together for you, don't worry, to submit to the governor's office, let him know that we've done these things. I expect and anticipate that the chancellor is going to sign off on that as well. That's the first one. The second one is in reference to another bit of a hot topic, the DEI offices. Some background, TSTC has never had, we don't have now, there's no anticipation that we're going to be starting a DEI office. And so our response to this was not difficult, but we won't have a whole lot to respond to. We're going to have to certify that we are in compliance with 513525, which is the prohibition on the DEI offices that was recently passed here in the last session. We have already made some reports to the auditor's office. In that, I did let them know that Jason is planning on conducting an audit, I think, next year. Is that correct?
Actually, as soon as we got the certification deadline, if I understood, it's 8/31, but
That's correct.
we were going to try to start. We're going to try to start the audit as soon as we finish one that we're working on now. So I was thinking we'd probably get started June or July. So
okay, we're ready for his audit. We've changed two. We've made additions to two of our current SOSs. So it's 407, ES 407, HR 21414. I mean, what we've done in those is included a blurb in those SOSs that we are in compliance and we will comply with 513525, and then we direct folks who are interested in what that is about, what their prohibitions are. We direct them to another page, and you can see what all the prohibitions are included. The importance of this, Jason was getting there, is that we have to certify that we are in compliance by the end of this fiscal year in order to spend money and do all the wonderful things that these people over here on my right and left were talking about we're doing, and so that we can keep doing our good work. I will let the board know. We were in compliance before 3525 was passed, and there was nothing for us to do. We did this only because I felt like we had to do something. right? Because we weren't violating the law in any kind of way before it was passed. And so we were in compliance and we continue to be. And so all that is your certification that will this minute order, and this one is GA 0524C. This is your certifying that we're in compliance. And if you don't have any questions, I think that's all that I have, but I'll be happy to answer questions on either one of those. Exciting stuff, I know.
Chance Reeser, do you have any comments or questions or?
I do not. Thank you, sir.
Okay, excellent. So if the board has no follow-up questions or comments, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Rob.
Oh, wait, I do.
Okay.
Okay.
I did want to bring up that we really appreciate you calling out the black and white photography. And I also know that the board gets paid 0 for what you do. But if any one of you can name the objects in every single one of these photos, we'll double that pay. Most of you will struggle with that one right over there.
The thingamajig.
I defer to Rob.
Or a diesel truck.
It's part of a moving object.
It is a rotating object.
It has-
I'll give you that.
Made of metal. That's as far as I can get.
You don't have to answer now. You can write me later.
The reward is so great.
Well, this concludes our committee section of the agenda. And we'll go right into recess of the open meeting. The open meeting of the TSTC Board of Regents on Thursday, May 9, 2024, after proper posting and for the specific purposes provided in the Texas Open Meeting Act, including those in Subchapter D, will recess and the closed meeting will begin. Well, shortly or now, I guess. Now. In a moment, I'll ask the public to retire from this room. The Regents will remain here to conduct the closed meeting. When the closed meeting is adjourned, the board will reconvene the open meeting. Current time is 12:31 p.m. The public may please retire now. Texas State Technical College Board of Regents reconvenes at 1:49. I made the assumption that IT is ready. Okay. Perfect.
There's a thumbs up.
We'll now consider the consent agenda. At this time, any regent can request that any item or items be removed from the consent agenda so that it can be considered by the board as a separate action item. Regents, are there any such amendments to the consent agenda? I'll entertain a motion to approve all of the items contained in the consent agenda.
One
Yes, sir.
question. With the loss of the two, we didn't lose quorum, did we?
No, you need 5. Yeah, you have a quorum.
Very good question.
I'll
Is
move to approve.
Second.
there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. Is there any further business?
Some business from the closed session to propose. I have 3 minute orders. I'll handle each one of those separately. The first one would be minute order CS 05-24.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries.
Another proposed minute order, CS 06-24.
Do we have a motion?
I move to approve.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Third minute order, CS 07-24.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries. Is there any further discussion on items covered during the closed session today? Okay. Chancellor, do you have any comments?
I do. There's 2 things I'd like to do. One is thank the team here in Marshall for their hospitality. It was a wonderful board meeting in all kinds of different ways. And also to acknowledge that they, wherever we hold a board meeting, there is a team of TSTCers who will descend on that location and help the locals be gracious hosts. So we thank them. The final thing I'll bring up is you saw some of the growth that we've seen in the past couple of years. A lot of that was made possible by many of the projects we've been working on, things like the Workday conversion and enhancements in OIT and acquisition of new technologies. The team has really done an outstanding job of rallying while doing their day-to-day work on these special projects. And so I wanted to make sure y'all heard from me that there are a lot of hands that made the growth you saw today possible. And I just want to acknowledge all of those people who didn't get to appear in front of you today that made some of that results happen. So I offer on your behalf your thanks to them.
Thank you, Chancellor. Let's see. The next Board of Regents meeting is scheduled for August 22nd, 2024. That will be at the wonderful Waco campus. Regents, do you have any final comments before we adjourn?
I would just like to echo how wonderful the visit's been. It's a beautiful campus. It's been very welcoming. I love the gifts. This is just awesome.
We have 1 more to go before you all leave.
Okay, but this is truly
This is
like,
very, very cool.
you just can take this with you and say,
Super
they can make this. And they made this. This is really awesome. Thank you very much.
Big gold chain.
Yeah, we pulled you.
Yeah.
It's not heavy, so that's a difference.
Regents, do you have any other comments? Well, thank you all. With there being no further business, the meeting of the Texas State Technical College Board of Regents is adjourned at 1:53.
Very good.